morning. You are watching DeProgram with Ted Rall and Jamarl Thomas. It's Tuesday, July 21st, 2026. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching and listening. We are here 9 a.m. Monday through Friday. That's Eastern time in the United States of America. Good morning, Jamarl. How are you?
What's going on, man? Doing okay today?
I am doing okay. Definitely. So it's funny. I burned a pot in my house, and the house filled with smoke. And now I can't tell if the smoke in my house is from the fiasco or if it's from the outside Canadian wildfires. Either way, I've got smoke in the house. But otherwise, I'm okay. And by the way,
punch Canada for that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I hear that President Trump heard about the problems at my house, and he's imposing 50% tariffs. Thank you, Mr. President. We really appreciate you for neutralizing the Canadian threat. Yeah.
Right.
I actually saw some article today, which I admit that I did not read. I read that like most people who send an article to a friend, you should read this. Most people don't read the article. They just send it to their friends. But anyway, that was me. And I didn't send it to anyone. But it was literally like a serious, foreign policy, why Canada is America's number one threat. I'm like,
seriously,
okay, we've lost our minds. Really. Totally.
Look, I told you,
neutralized.
I'm on board for Trump taking Greenland. I don't know about Canada, but Greenland, fair game. I know people think I'm joking when I say that. I am dead serious. I am so sick of the way that the Europeans, and maybe this is a letdown for me from Europe. Maybe it's that, because I thought Europe was better than that. At least I used to think that. But I've watched them be completely subservient and obsequious to the U.S. in the way that their behavior. And when
it's only gotten worse too.
Right. But I guess my thing is, when we're attacking Iran, it's obviously a war of aggression. It's obviously wrong by, quote, Western values. And this idea that we're not supposed to attack other countries are supposed to be sovereign, these liberal institutions that are supposed to be established and all this. That stuff is nonsense. All of that stuff is nonsense. We were perfectly fine, meaning the Europeans were perfectly fine with us hitting Iran. They were perfectly fine with us going after Venezuela. They took issue with none of that stuff. And so, yeah, if we are okay preying upon countries to go after Iran, or going after, for that matter, Venezuela, why not Greenland? What makes Greenland so special?
Well, I mean, my problem, my concern now, Jamarl, is that Greenland could take us. I mean, we could.
You say Greenland can take us?
We could lose.
JT, I've been thinking about this. So Denmark is in direct violation of the Monroe Doctrine.
Yep.
I mean, they are. That's a casus belli right there.
Yep.
So, and now the Danes did send a new dog sled team there, so that could be a problem. I don't know.
Probably.
They have the ice. They have the canine ice advantage.
Yeah,
is that what it is? Okay, let's see if they can articulate it. I don't even think they'll field the military, frankly.
No, I don't think that might not matter, because we've gotten to the point where we suck so bad that we might lose anyway. I mean, look at the. I mean, here we are spending next year $1.5 trillion, $1 trillion a year now. More than whatever the next 20 countries combined. And the Iranians are raining missiles down on our bases in the Gulf. And yes. Not only are we not able to intercept them, we can't even detect them. So our dudes just sit in their barracks and and hot death is raining down on their roofs. I mean, come on. I mean, we're like Ukraine here, right? I mean, it's kind of like, where's the money going? It's kind of like 9/11. I mean, how is it that 19 assholes with box cutters were able to fly around all over the eastern United States for 2.5 hours unimpeded, and the entire defense of the contiguous United States boiled down to 12 Air National Guardsmen weekend warriors? I mean, if nothing else, we should have an amazing defense system for the money we spend, if nothing else. And we don't.
Well, we can't have an amazing
works. I mean, it's that. Meaning, if somebody taking provocative action will get the drop on somebody else who doesn't believe the provocative action is going to be taken out of a particular group. I mean, the 9/11 thing is more complicated, especially with the CIA stuff that was revealed in the Tucker Carlson interview. I don't know if you watched those. They were illuminating and infuriating because it gets across that the CIA was running an operation in the United States using terrorists who effectively came into the country. And the CIA lost track of the terrorists, didn't inform the FBI because they were humiliated by the fact that they lost track of the terrorists. And then when the bombings or the planes hit, their thing was blame the Saudis, blame the Iraqis, blame everybody else but us, and bury our
So
role.
local cops can track you, Jamarl, when you decide to go to the library or to Starbucks. And you know, if I have a dog, I can track my dog and know exactly where it is at any given time. But the CIA couldn't track these fucking Saudis.
That's their story.
Well,
That's the story of the FBI that was talking about it, who was involved in it. Because the FBI at some point got wind of it. And the guy who Tucker was interviewing basically made it very clear that they told him to bury it. Basically, don't inform the FBI. Don't give them a heads up. Don't let them know that these people are in the country. I mean, it's wow. It's infuriating when you listen to it. And there's some people who go further than that, by the way. I mean, as you point out, there were people who made money on the airplanes crashing into the towers. They made bets just before, like basically they were shorting air companies just before 9/11 took place. All sorts of stuff was involved in that. But it's not the story that they effectively give us. And by the way, and you didn't hear me go into conspiracy theory about it. Everything I'm saying is just run of the mill.
Right. Yeah, I mean, look. I know it's possible. Two things can be true at once. It's possible to not believe everything the government told us about 9/11, and I don't.
Yes.
And also not to think that missiles instead of planes struck the towers.
Exactly.
You know, yeah.
Yeah, it's weird.
One thing
Not to mention, what is it, Tower 7? The one that blew up without anything
That
hitting?
one, actually, I believe the real narrative, just because for a hot second, I was a civil engineering major, and the
Yes.
explanation makes sense.
That a building that wasn't hit somehow.
It was across the street, across a very narrow
Okay.
street, and it had a giant fuel tank. So basically, when the towers came down, it created a seismic event. Basically, it's like an earthquake struck Lower Manhattan. And so the power of all of these, all this debris, these buildings collapsing, this is literally across the street. It's not a wide street. VC Street's like just a little street. And so the 7 across the street, and don't forget, this is shitty union construction from like the 80s and 70s. They had this giant fuel tank in there that precipitated once you had a fire in there. I mean, that building was going to come down. That didn't surprise me at all. It's kind of like, I'm actually surprised that there wasn't more peripheral damage, particularly to World Financial Center across the street. I think it was just far enough away and maybe well constructed enough. It's still there, not to have come down. But I thought there'd be more buildings that day when I was watching. I'm like, oh, we're going to see some more buildings come down, but no.
Yeah, it's wild. People should be very angry with their government.
Oh,
on that.
That's always true. That's always true. I mean, yeah, it's like, look, what else are we paying for, right? I mean, seriously, look, we're not paying. We don't get anything else out of our government. I don't need to. I will enumerate the long list on another occasion. I have in the past. But of all the services that other people in other countries get, who pay far fewer taxes than we do, I mean, at least the American people ought to have amazing military prowess. Because Lord knows we pay for it. And so where the fuck is it?
I mean, but like trying to crack the same nut with the same nutcracker doesn't always work. Like, meaning you can use your military to go after Iraq. Okay, but that's a different target. There are different mechanisms associated with going after that particular target. This is Trump randomly going after Iran. Like, it wasn't like there was a lead up. He just attacked and then tried to bring everything in. It's almost like you're trying to build a plane while it's in the air. I mean, for one, I don't even know.
Well, that actually is like Iraq, right? Because Iraq posed. I mean, come on, how many Americans were thinking about Iraq when the Project for a New American Century issued their letter in 1998 saying we got to take out Iraq? Nobody. I mean, how many on 9/11? How many New Yorkers or Washingtonians were thinking, this is Iraq, we have to go after them? No one.
True.
It's like anybody who was thinking about a military response. I'm not going to lie and say no one was thinking about Afghanistan. Some people were, but more people were thinking about Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Egypt. I'd say Afghanistan was like number 6 on that list, right? But nobody. Iraq was just ginned up. It's like Iran. It was just like sort of like, oh, by the way, there's this country. It's over here. We've decided it's bad, and we're gonna gin up a case for war.
Right. No, I agree with you in that sense. I mean, in a tactical sense.
The difference is at least
surrounded by mountains.
There was more propaganda. They felt like they had to lie more to us about Iraq. With Iran, I think there was no lube. They just stuck it in.
Yeah. But see, that's my argument and we got to get into the show, but the degradation of the political system. Like you could see it. If you, like for example, if you look at a person as they're aging and you could say, okay, this is the point where there's a decline. And there may be peaks where the person goes up a little bit, but ultimately it's a downhill trajectory from here. That's what it seems like from the standpoint of political culture in the US. In the old days, let's say during the Iran Missile Crisis, for example. Okay, well, they had trials. I mean, when Reagan overstepped, basically blowing off the Bolin Act, Reagan had to explain himself. He had to come on TV. I distinctly remember this. This is one of the first political things I remember. Him and Ted Kennedy losing his mind over unemployment. I mean, not unemployment, the minimum wage. But when Reagan had to come out, the Gipper had to explain, look, we're engaged, the CIA did it. I didn't know anything about it, but I'm the Gipper. The buck stops with me. They were selling weapons to Iran in order to get money so they can have a private kill squad in South America. Mm-hmm. But if you think about it, that's no different than what Obama was doing in Syria. That's not that much different than what we do in other countries when we're sending in squads of people to commit mayhem and chaos. And yet, in the Obama situation, there was no consequence. Obama didn't have to explain himself. It was accepted as just normal.
Well, you know the difference, though, right? I mean, the difference was that in 1982, the very highly democratically controlled Congress had passed legislation prohibiting any spending on the death squads, in El Salvador.
Bolin Act.
Right. Yeah. And so, I mean, the difference was that you had a democratically controlled Congress that exercised its prerogatives over the purse and basically said, we're standing up to the executive branch. That's what went away under Obama, and and really under subsequent presidents. I mean, we just haven't seen. Yeah, I mean, they became lickspittles of the president. But that was the thing. Reagan had Congress tied his hands, so he was looking for a work. He and Fawn Hall and Ollie North were looking for a workaround so he could get the money. Right? It was a kind of like Iran-Contra was really kind of like Nixon and the slush fund. Right? Like, we have things we want to do. We need to pay for them. We can't pay for them legally. How can we get some money? Right.
But I guess that's my point. Like, it would have been unheard of. Meaning there was culpability at some point within the White House. Meaning Nixon felt pressure
from Congress
and from Congress. They would have.
Congress
I can't see them. Well, Nixon's own party was going to impeach him.
Right.
Meaning there was culpability. There was consequence for behavior. I don't see that today. And in fact, not just consequence for behavior that would have been off the reservation, like as we point out with the Reagan thing, is normal parlance. So Trump can engage in a war. There will be no consequences for what Trump was doing. Nancy Pelosi said herself, we knew George Bush was lying. And yet when you ask Nancy Pelosi, well, why didn't you impeach him for it? Well, we just wanted to move on. But you impeached Trump. Right? Like, meaning there seems to be a degradation. The things that used to be off the table seems to be now allowed and has become normal parlance. As opposed to the past, there would have been consequences for it. At the very least, they would have had congressional hearings over it. All that stuff is Done.
No, that's all true. I mean, Trump is the culmination of this trend that we saw for years before he came along,
Yes.
and and of course, he has kind of like he has some pretty brilliant tactics, and one of them is like if you're outrageous every single day, multiple times a day, then that becomes the new bar, and you can do whatever you want.
Yes.
I mean, we all know what that's like. It's like if you have several children and one of them is really bratty. On the day that they're slightly less bratty, you're like, okay. And then like the good one's like, what the fuck? I'm always nice. And,
Right.
Anyway, we have some comments we should get to, and some generous donations. Thanks very much for the Dead Meme Club 88. Thank you very much for tipping into Rumble Wallet $25. Much appreciated. Destined for Nothing, a question from the Cheap Seats. Ted et al., what's your opinion of Interpol? I don't recall Kiriakou making any statements in the past either. Love the band. The great band. I was listening to them yesterday, actually. Well, I don't have any expertise whatsoever about Interpol.
I know nothing about Interpol, short of them being a police organization. I mean, I knew they were trying to go after Rafael Correa, but that was because I think they were pushed to do it, even though he didn't do anything. I mean, that had to do with Julian Assange. I don't have a take on Interpol.
Okay, let's see. Okay, the Dead Meme Club again. Thanks for another $10. And a comment. Financial recession we're headed towards, with oil prices rising, will it be a? I guess there's no question here. Be a marketplace or repeat Great Depression? Futures price is about 70, but they're paying 200 plus a barrel in East Asia currently. Look, I agree. There's no way. I mean, the financial consequences of the closing of the Strait of Hormuz. This is a bill that's way overdue. I can't believe we're not paying it yet. We will be with interest. It's going to be ugly for sure. And it remains to be seen if what's going to happen with the closure of the Gulf of Aden by the Houthis. I don't know, but we're watching that.
It's necessary. I mean, our country are run by psychopaths and maniacs, and those psychopaths and maniacs have been going around the world causing misery, pain, and mayhem, and effectively just a gangsterism at this point. I mean, the idea that you're going into a country stealing oil, like we're doing to Venezuela what we've been doing to Iraq. Basically, the oil goes through us, or the money goes through us. Not to mention that government at this point is subservient.
Yeah, let's put this in perspective, right? I mean, Jamarl, this is actually worse than classic Cold War like imperialism. I mean, in the classic Cold War imperialist model, the United States or another big great power basically sets up a puppet or makes an arrangement with the dictator. Let's say the Shah of Iran, right? Makes an arrangement and says, okay, but the Shah of Iran is still the head of state of Iran. We haven't kidnapped him or his wife and then installed someone else to terrorize the new vice Shah, right? Like they're still in charge. All we're doing is we're leaning on them to give us favorable concession rates.
Right.
This is directly, like literally, Venezuela's oil proceeds go directly into accounts that are controlled by Viceroy, Secretary of State Marco Rubio.
Yes.
Who, by the way, I want to, if we can, I mean, let's finish this. But I also want to ask you, did you take note of this report about Cuba that the State Department issued yesterday?
That Cuba is trying to destroy Western civilization?
Yeah. So
it's fucking outrageous. like sometimes you read that stuff and you think to yourself, somebody wrote that.
Yeah.
Somebody wrote that. And was paid to write it.
On purpose. Yeah.
With a straight face.
Oh, I know.
They're trying to destroy Western civilization. Yeah. That's our reason for blockading it. That's what
I took note of it.
Honestly,
I have a quote from this report.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Well, no, I was just saying, I am of mind. I don't even know why they go through why the pretense? Just say you want to overthrow the government. Don't meaning you don't lie to me like I'm an idiot. Don't say stupid stuff to me.
It's so bizarre too, because it's like, okay, so who's going to really read a U.S. State Department report? Geeks like you and me, but geeks like you and me aren't falling for it, right? So who's it for? I don't even understand, because it's like, for the morons that it would work for, they're not reading it anyway.
They don't need it.
And they're not even going to understand it. Let me read this quote from this Rubio's report. Your U.S. State Department, which used to be a serious organization, right? Maybe not a nice organization, but a serious one. They just issued this yesterday. This is a quote talking about how Cuba is part of this, basically at the locus of this international conspiracy to turn the entire world communist and destroy everything and have your children, fucking their dogs or something. All right, so here we go. The Cubans this is a quote, the Cubans devoted themselves to recruiting, cultivating, and mobilizing a global coalition of activists, intellectuals, and political groups around this cause, building a sprawling revolutionary network that shaped a disproportionate share of America's most famous and influential extremist movements, from the Black Panthers and the Weather Underground through to Antifa, the report says. Today, that network continues to maintain ties to powerful leftist nonprofits. What powerful leftist? If there's a powerful leftist nonprofit, get in touch. I need a fucking job. Anti-ICE collectives. What collectives? Again, I want to help. If you are, get in touch if you're an anti-ICE collective. Socialist groups and Marxist militant organizations across the United States. Again, any Marxist militant organizations, get in touch. Ted wants to hear from you and hang out and have beers. These organizations don't exist. And then to say that, you and I both know the history of the Weather Underground and the Black Panthers. The only thing they had to do with Cuba is if they were on the lam, they might have hijacked a plane and gone to Cuba. But they were they had nothing to do with Cuba. Cuba didn't direct fucking, Fred Hampton. I mean, Cuba didn't tell Bernadine Doran what to do. I mean, what, are you fucking crazy? It's this shit is so wildly ahistorical. And to claim that Cuba, somehow these networks have always been there. All these groups died in the early 1970s, all of them. And there hasn't been a militant left in this country since the 70s. And ever since Red Army faction, gone, finished. And then Cuba? Those guys they can barely keep the lights on. Are you fucking kidding me? What the
That's
fuck?
So insane. I mean, the idea that, when is the last time you heard of Cuba? They send doctors out. But as you point out, they are far more concerned with maintaining the integrity of Cuba against U.S. sanctions and everything else, as opposed to some grand conspiracy to take down Western civilization using something to do so.
I mean,
and by the way, they wrote that document, as you point out, as an argument for why they're taking this behavior towards Cuba. Why are you blockading Cuba right now? Why are you trying to make sure that they don't have oil or energy or these type of things or food? Why are you doing this? Well, we're doing this because they're trying to take down Western civilization, and they're a threat to us.
It's absurd. I mean, this makes even the Iraq WMD's shit look insane. This is the kind of thing that will be quoted by the historians of the future to describe just how fucking insane our times were, and to say these people were so fucking crazy. Look at this. I mean, Marco Rubio should hang his head in shame having issued this piece of shit. I mean, it's such an intellectual, fucking shit show. It's so hard to fucking even. You can't overstate the issue. I mean, it's so immoral. Just for having put his name on that, he should have no political future. Trump should fire him. He should never be heard from again. Right? I mean, it's absurd.
I don't think Trump disagrees with him.
But Trump doesn't know anything about that stuff.
And I don't think the American public even cares.
No,
like that's what I mean when I say there needs to be cost. This, as you point out, that check has come due a long time ago, and we've been coasting on it without cost. We're doing this. We are killing babies. That's what we're doing in Cuba. We're killing babies. We're killing children. We're doing everything in our power to starve people to death or to ensure that those people don't have the things that they need. If a person, let's say, needed dialysis, okay, well, how do you get that when you don't have power to run machines? If a person needed cancer treatment, how do they get that without the power to run those machines, or for that matter, to import the goods that they require for it? We are murdering people, full stop. And so when Iran is like, okay, well, we're going to take an action to ensure that the gas price goes to infinity, don't bitch to Iran about that. That's not them.
They're defending themselves. I mean, if they didn't have this Strait of Hormuz thing, they'd be fucked.
We'd be doing to them what we're doing to Cuba, and worse.
Right.
So no, I feel you. It's outrageous. It's just outrageous, and I find it to be more outrageous that people don't care.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's just sort of like, are you kidding? And then, like, it's what's weird to me is like Americans' complete lack of empathy. I mean, I think one of the quintessential human personality traits is your ability to look at a homeless person and think, God, that would suck. I'd hate to be sleeping outside tonight. And instead of being like, oh, they brought that upon themselves, or not even to think about them at all. And like the ability to, and for like us not to imagine what it's like to live in Cuba or Tehran or, just all these places that we're fucking with, and be like, or Gaza, and just be like, God, that must really suck. Like, and that's us. We're doing that, and we could stop it. I mean, young people get it. That's why they're against, what Israel is doing to Gaza. They get it. They're like, that's us, of all the misery in the world. See, this is what like the Zionists pretend not to get. They're like, well, why are you picking on, Israel? There's all these other countries that do terrible things. And that's true. But the United States has a unique role in this. Like, we fund it. We run interference for it diplomatically. We allow it. We finance it. We facilitate it. We provide the intel for it. We assist militarily. So this is something we could do something about. If nothing else, we could just wash our hands of it and say we're not having anything to do with it. We'll roll Pontius Pilate style. I mean, we could do that. And the young people get that. Like, you can do this, but just without our money. And I don't know. It's just weird to me that we don't.
It's our culture. It's our culture. I think it is being in, I guess, any society, anywhere you are is where you're at, because all societies are going to have their vagaries. But I think one of the ones for us is, we do opposite things when kids are being grown or when kids are being raised, meaning we're programming our kids in a particular way. I'm trying to say this, I'm saying it very strangely. In one sense, we tell kids, be kind, be polite, be nice, be cordial, be
question
gracious.
Authority.
Right. Well, we don't tell them that.
But we do kind of. We tell them like how great Harriet Tubman was. We teach them about the people who stood up. The founding fathers, they rebelled. They're heroes. Our national heroes are people who rebelled. Martin Luther King rebelled. I mean,
Well, they rebel against oppression, but we don't make the argument. But those people, we look at those people as historical figures, not real people, if that makes sense. Yeah. Like, we don't look at King as a person who many in his own community disliked because he was talking about the Vietnam War and everything else. Meaning, we celebrate him for that today. He was not celebrated back then.
We've sanitized him.
Right. And in no way do we get across the pressure that he was under as he was living his life as a human being, with his own groups going after him going after the Vietnam War, with the government going after him and everything. We don't see these people as real people. That's my point. So it's kind of hard to put them in historical context when we are living through a particular context ourselves, because for us, it all seems real. For them, it doesn't.
And the implication is, if the arc of justice bends right, if the arc of history bends towards justice, the implication is we're at the end of history. Everyone's free, right? Even the trans people. everyone's free, everything's good. That's the implication, right? Like kids are not taught in school. Well, we still have massive problems with income inequality. You're not really
Right.
free if you can't afford to eat dinner.
Right. Yeah. Those aren't things we're taught. We're not taught to push for authority. Authority, by definition, doesn't necessarily want people pushing against it. It's counterintuitive to the authority. No, what I'm getting at though is we teach our kids all sorts of things in regards to manners and values. And then when they get into the real world tries to beat it out of them. There's a war between these two things. Like, meaning we don't care because culturally we don't care. It's a culture issue. But we're taught that. Like, you have to go for a paycheck. That paycheck has limits in regards to what you can buy and what you can afford, even for yourself. You're strained in regards to 60, 70% in the last poll said they couldn't afford groceries. Okay, what does that make you think in that context, right? You tend to focus on your individual wants and needs. And if somebody else is in a bad strait, well, that's on them. They did something to do it. I have to fight in order to get by in this particular society. Why can they just, sit on the corner or whatever? I think on some level, empathy is beat out of us in the way that we just go about life.
Oh, there's no question. No, look, there's no question. That's exactly, you said it beautifully. I mean, I don't even want to add to it because that's exactly spot on. Manchild, thanks so much for your $2. Y'all heard about the dissolution of the Israeli government? I guess that's kind of been in the works, right? I'm gunning for the guy leading the polls, former military leader who's apparently calling Palestine, Lebanon, and Iran a fool's errand. We shall
see. That guy ain't gonna win.
We shall see. FUSO, thanks for the $1. Which concerts you wish you went to? Me, Led Zeppelin, Ramones, and the 1983 US Festival. Well, I saw the Ramones a bunch of times, so I wouldn't. I did get to do that. Wish I went to though. Oh my God, Chuck Berry. Chuck Berry used to play New Year's Eve in New York City every year, and I was like, "Oh, it's so expensive. I got something else to do tonight. I'll do it next year." And then, like, after he died, I was like, "What kind of a fucking asshole am I?" I mean, the dude literally invented rock, and like his own self, and like I'm like, I didn't go see Chuck Berry. Like, what a fucking...
And nobody feels like a fixture when it happens every year. It feels like there's always another year.
Until there isn't, right?
Until there isn't. Oh God, man, there's so many people. I mean, Hendrix. I would have loved to see the Hendrix concert where he set the guitar on fire.
But there was no way, right? I mean, obviously, you weren't even born.
Yeah, Hendrix would have been fantastic. Zeppelin would have been nice. Obviously, Zeppelin puts on a hell of a concert. Thursday. Oh God, there's so many. I mean, especially when you get into like the oldies, spinners. I've seen the Temptations and the Four Tops perform. Yeah,
my mom would have loved to have seen the Four Tops. Were her favorite, and the Temptations.
Oh, they were great. They were great. They were at Wolf Trap.
They were great. I did see Diana Ross in Central Park. Would have loved to have seen the Supremes. Would have loved to have seen the the Shangri-Las. Would have loved to have seen them.
Little Stevie Wonder.
I did get to see Question Mark and the Mysterians. They were fantastic.
Were they?
96 Years.
Yeah.
Yeah. They were great. Yeah. They had a whole reunion thing going on. And like
too many bands. There are too many bands. We'd be here forever.
Oh, Riot Girl bands, like early ones like Lilliput, Kleenex, would have loved to have seen them. Yeah. I did get to see, I have seen Kathleen Hanna. But all right, well, we can keep going this all. Yeah, we could do this all day. Yeah. Melissa Berger, thanks for the $9.99. Just thank you. FUSO, thanks for the $1. There are more conservative Grindr users than leftists of any kind in America. No question about that. No,
which is funny.
Yeah,
which is funny. Like, it's like, dude, just own it.
It's okay to suck penises, really.
Yeah. Like you said, Andrew Tate. He was like, "Hey, you might like a guy."
You might like a guy. Yeah, life is short. You don't want to be like gasping for air like Lindsey Graham and thinking, God, think of all the cocks I might have sucked. Although I don't think Lindsey Graham missed out on a lot of them. And I think I'm happy for him in that way.
You think that's what he thought of in his last breath as he's on the ground?
There was always that one more
there's so much dick I could have sucked.
I think actually
I would just lived my life.
I think he probably, I'd like to think that he really did enjoy himself, albeit in his highly closeted way. P.W. Walker.
When it's in the closet, it's more exciting, I would imagine. It's like if you're having an affair, it's like super exciting.
Yes,
you pulling down your pants in the middle of a movie theater.
It's true.
What's the chick name?
Lauren Boebert.
The one that got caught in Congress. Laura
Boebert.
The one that got caught giving a hand job in
Lauren
a movie
Boebert.
theater. That's it.
To a Democrat.
Yeah. She got caught giving a hand job in a movie theater.
Well, it was a huge theater full of
You don't remember this? This was like last year.
I do.
The one with the glasses.
Oh, I've said this to Manila. You know, like I think she's like, it's one of those like, I shouldn't find her attractive, but I do.
I think she is attractive.
Yeah,
dark hair.
Totally crazy, but you know,
totally crazy.
Yeah,
totally crazy.
Ruby, I mean, not crazy in like a Laura Loomer way. Like Laura Loomer, doesn't deserve sex. She's such a bad person. They should sew up her vag. And just like she should never be allowed to have any pleasure in life. She should never be given like a really good cup of coffee. Just her food should always taste bland and miserable and mealy. She should just only suffer. She's only entitled to the worst things in life.
Yeah.
P.W. Walker, Rubio's document, thanks for the $1, exists to explain why Ivy League PMC propaganda is failing to work. God, abbreviations, PMC. Do you know? I don't know. An overarching reason to explain why the unwashed are no longer buying what they sell. Blame foreigners.
Yeah.
PMC. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, whatever. If you so, chime in and let me know what you're talking about there. MC calling. We've heard that Leslie Stahl said, we've heard that 500,000 children have died. I mean, that's more children than died in Hiroshima. And is the price worth it? Madeleine Albright. I think this is a very hard choice, but we think the price is worth it.
Yeah.
Notorious.
500,000 kids. Imagine if Putin got caught in an interview like that. And they said, President Putin, we've heard that 500,000 Ukrainian kids have been killed as a result of your policy. And Putin said, yeah, I think it's worth it. That clip would be played.
He would never say that.
He would never say it. And yet Albright is like, yeah, I think killing 500,000 kids is totally worth our policy. And by the way, we ended up in a war anyway.
I mean, by the way, it's so funny, like, in the civil war within the Democratic Party, Neera Tanden, who's like representing the corporatists in the DNZ side, and she's fighting this Michigan thing against Syed. She made some big call about, I worked for Madeleine Albright. I'm a real Democrat. I'm like, okay, listen to yourself. Like, no, if you lean, no, sorry, it's also Cory Booker said the same thing, right? Like, I'm a real Democrat, like, and then like I worked with Madeleine Albright. Like, you're not a real Democrat. You worked with Madeleine Albright. I mean,
I take them at their word. They are Democrats.
Well, yeah. Well, that's what Democrats are.
I think that's what the party is.
By the way, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, I think it's an honest reflection of the party. I mean, unless people believe that they can somehow take it over and change the character of it. But these are third-way Democrats.
So you co-host a show with someone for a while and they get into your mind. And like, so like when I read things, I'm often things that you would think, I'm like, oh my God, that's such a JT thing to say. And I was thinking this, like yesterday, there was some sort of, God, what was it? Oh God, now I'm Bidening out. What the fuck was it?
What did it pertain to?
Oh, I remember. So so it was like I was reading all of this like hate, like from corporate Democrats saying we have to punch left, we have to get rid of the leftists inside the Democratic Party, we have to purge them. And so I thought this is kind of like my reaction was, yeah, please do. Please purge the leftists from the Democratic Party, because then you will die because you can't fucking win without them. And,
exactly.
And B, the left will get its shit together and stop wasting its time and money and energy on you bullshitting assholes, and they'll get together and do something for themselves. So yes, please do it. More anti-left rhetoric from the corporate Democrats. Bring it, please.
Agreed. The only thing I have to say is agreed.
All right. Let's see. P.W. Walker, our specially crafted propaganda is perfect, and thanks for the donation. And the only reason it can't be working is because of nefarious reasons by our enemies abroad.
By the way, they said the same thing about Iran, right? They were like, they asked the person, they were on Fox News, and it was like, hey, Trump said that all of their missiles and everything else have been destroyed, and yet they're blowing the shit out of our bases. How is that working? I mean, some of these strikes are pinpoint precision strikes, like hitting the barracks, and you can see the satellite imagery from it. And he was like, well, we believe that the Russians and the Chinese are somehow helping the Iranians, so blah, 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 blah. Like, you can't just own up to the fact that they're sophisticated technologically.
You were wrong. Yeah. Juan Don says Harriet Tubman isn't real. It's been proven. Is that true? I never heard that.
What did he say? That Harriet Tubman
didn't exist. No such person.
Whatever.
Yeah,
and we didn't go to the moon. Sure.
I don't think. Yeah, I don't think that be true.
The world is flat.
Daniel BTS says, I live right between an upper class, nice and safe part of town and a poor and shady part, and it's like two worlds. The elite don't even care about the working class or poor in their city. That's very true. I used to live on a street called Morningside Drive in New York City. It's the upper limits of the Upper West Side of Manhattan. It's directly across the street from a very thin slice of park called Morningside Park from Morningside Avenue. It's a tenth of a, so basically you're 20th of a mile from Harlem. You're right on the border of Harlem. And it's fascinating because Morningside Drive and Morningside Avenue, each on different sides of the same little park, it's night and day. On top, there's like every single lamppost has a working light. On top, the cops are patrolling every few minutes. You see a police car go by, and they're there. They don't feel like a hostile occupying force. On the other side of the park, and then alternate side of the street parking on the white side of the park is every other day, which means that might be more inconvenient for people who park, but the street cleaners coming by to clean the street like 3 times a week. On the other side, the street cleaner comes once a week. Half the lights are broken. When a cop car comes by, they don't get out of the car. It's like an occupying force, and they're literally like, they have speakers on top, and they're like, get off the stoop. And that's it. It's literally like, and there's litter all over the place. Of course there's litter all over the place. My mom would be like, well, that's because they don't take care of their neighborhood. I'm like, well, that's because the city doesn't clean the fucking street. Like, my neighborhood would look exactly the same if the street cleaner came with the same degree of frequency as it does on the other side. So it's just like, people, they really think it's like they otherize people in their own communities. I remember I would visit my mom's friends in Dayton, Ohio. And I remember one of them, a dear friend of my mom, and I really valued her, but she's like, Ted, I've read all the shit you write in your column about Dayton. And she's like, the closed factories, the bad water, the crime, the boarded up buildings. It's like, I don't see any of that here. I'm like, downtown, like 4 miles north from here. They're in the suburbs here. And she goes, that's downtown. And I'm like, it's the center of your city. It's literally, if you fly if someone arrives here and they go into the airport, they go through that. That's the first thing they see. She's like, but that's downtown. It's like might as well be on the moon.
Yeah. By the way, I lived in Poughkeepsie, New York for a while. Mm-hmm. And it was that way for Poughkeepsie City versus Poughkeepsie Town. It's the same way. Like you would have
man.
Well, because I used to live. So my ex-girlfriend lived in New York, and I moved to New York to effectively be with her. She lived in a condo in Poughkeepsie Town,
Mhm.
The condos, some of those condos went up to like millions of dollars.
Sure.
And some of the houses were just palatial estates. And then you go a mile, maybe two, and when you get to the town or the city, it's just like, put it this way, night and day.
Oh, it's still like
Night and
that.
day.
I mean, the meth situation's out of control in Poughkeepsie. Poughkeepsie ought to be a really upscale, beautiful town. It's up on top of a hill. It's right by
Part
the
of it
Hudson
is.
River. It's at the beginning of it has great views. It has like, it's great location. It's like
Yep.
right at the beginning of a train line. Should be doing great. You know,
Yeah.
you can
Well,
get
the
to New York
town,
City in about an hour and 40 minutes by train.
yeah, the town is great. I mean, like Vassar College, Marist
Mhm.
College,
Yeah.
all of these things are like a few minutes away from where we used to live.
Yeah.
And I would take a 5-minute drive to get to Poughkeepsie City for work. And the city was just run down. It's just wild.
Crazy. Okay, so we need to hit our main topics, which we haven't even touched yet. A few more
Yes.
questions. Frank Friel, thanks for the $5, and he said thanks for the show, guys. We thank you for your support. PW Walker, PMC is the professional managerial class. Thank you. It usually refers to the think tank, punditry, and bureaucratic class, which I guess
Yeah.
that's us, JT.
It's a little bit roller according to them. Well, not exactly. I mean, I think they're talking about like the top 10% earners in
Yeah.
the country that we're not managers. I'm not a manager of
No,
anything.
no, but we're pundits ish.
Yeah.
But we're outsider pundits.
Yeah, we're
Um,
outsider pundits.
all right, we got two main things we're going to talk about in the 13 minutes that remain. Netanyahu is under arrest warrant for genocide from the International Criminal Court. United
Yes.
States is not a signatory to the ICC, right? As far as I
Right.
know. So every September, Bibi Netanyahu comes to the UN General Assembly to help tie up traffic and bring his own special flavor of genocide to New York City, his je ne sais quoi. He's planning to do that again. So I guess maybe now he's booking his tickets on Kayak or whatever. He's trying to figure out if he can get in without Mamdani having him arrested and send him out, bundle him off to Geneva. Or to the Hague or wherever the fuck it is. I think it's the Hague.
You should be arrested.
Well, of course he should be arrested. Lord knows. I mean, hell, he should be in. I mean, the Israelis have him on corruption charges. Of course, obviously, he should face justice for what's going on in.
Does
in
Mamdani have the balls to do it? Is the question.
Well, I guess it brings up some questions. Trump said it will not happen. He will not allow Netanyahu to be arrested. Okay, so part of me thinks Mamdani's bullshitting because how does the mayor of the city of New York, I mean, he can certainly send the NYPD to do this,
Yes.
but how can the NYPD hold Netanyahu and can they get him to Switzerland? Can they, I mean, you know what I mean?
Grab his ass
Sorry,
at the airport and put him on an immediate plane out. Because if you hold him, Trump is going to federalize the troops.
Right. Yeah.
So grab his ass at the airport. As soon as he stepped off the plane, have the NYPD there. Mr. Netanyahu, you need to come with us. Do the shit immediately. Don't tell nobody. Keep it secret. Top secret mission. I'm serious. I'm being serious. If he's serious about doing it, that's how you have to do it. Because the moment that if you take him into custody, Trump is going to immediately be like, let him out.
Well, wouldn't it have been wiser for Mamdani not to say a word and just do it?
And just do it. Yeah. Yeah. Just do it.
I mean, even if Netanyahu only spent a couple of uncomfortable hours in the tombs, it would still be worth it.
True. Agreed. But I would prefer them grab his ass off the airplane and immediately ferret his ass to another plane to Switzerland.
Well, that's the thing, right? Like, so when he arrives at JFK, that's the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey. So that's the Port Authority police and presumably the FBI or I don't know who has jurisdiction there. I mean, to bundle them off.
But I would say do it. Or at the very least, do your damnedest. Try. I mean, can you imagine what they would do? Mamdani, that would be his presidential ambition if he did some shit like that.
Yeah.
Like, that would be so epic.
And there would be, honestly, it wouldn't hurt him at all. I mean, politically, it would only help.
It would only help. There's only upside to it.
Yeah.
There's no downside to it.
No.
Just the very act of trying to do it in and of itself is audacious.
I mean, obviously it's grandstanding, but still.
I mean,
but he's a politician. That's his job.
That's what they're supposed to do. Yeah.
I mean, couldn't the governor of New York, Hochul, remove him if he did that?
Remove Mamdani?
Yeah. I mean, the state controls the city.
Yeah, but the state can't get rid of the mayor.
She can't. Actually, she can. There's a
The
provision
state
under,
can get rid of the mayor.
there's a
Are you
provision
shitting
under
me?
the state constitution. Yeah, this came up under Eric Adams, where Kathy Hochul was considering whether or not to get rid of him.
I mean,
Are you shitting me?
Mamdani is all hot air, and that says as someone who have voted for him. Of all of the problems that New York City has, you're going to telegraph. Okay, I'm gonna arrest Netanyahu. First of all, you can't. You're a mayor. You have no authority to do this. Second, the federal government could turn off the spigots and shut the city down in like an hour. And then the Democrat governor of New York could then give you your walking papers, hopefully deport him back to Africa from whence he came, which I would support. Mamdani is full of hot air. This is nothing. This is posturing. If he was serious about this, he would have just done it.
Yeah,
taken
and
his
not said a
lumps
word.
and went as a hero, in which case I, as a right winger, say, good on you.
I hope he
he's
tries
just
to do
human.
this shit. I mean, honestly, if she's going to make the argument that she's going to remove him from his position for doing something that the ICC already had an arrest warrant out for Netanyahu over, let her.
Yeah. By the way,
Let her.
right?
Make her
like,
do it.
it would only, yeah. Make my day. Whatever. He won't be mayor forever anyway, right? So
Do it. I mean, it only helps his political ambitions.
Well, look at Marjorie Taylor Greene. I mean, she's much better as a former congressman than she was as a congressman.
I don't know about that. I don't know about that. I mean, because she left a position where she actually had power to a position where she has none.
For
Mamdani
now,
position is a
she
little bit
could run
different.
for president.
Yeah, she's not going to win. I mean, well, she could run. She could. I'm not going to.
She could get the nomination.
I'm not going to ding her. I would say, though, Mamdani doesn't lose anything. This is kind of like the U.S. pushing boats into the Strait of Hormuz, and Iran has forced the fire on those ships. Same thing, right? Do it. If you want to take me out of my position for doing this, do it. Do it. I don't believe she's going to do it. For one, there's that. Two, I think the fallback and the consequences against her will be monstrous, considering the number of people that are supporting Mamdani in that country, and in New York, and who his support, I suspect, will go through the moon if he tried to do it or if he was able to do it. Meaning, if he caught Netanyahu immediately, as soon as he got in with the New York Police Department, before the state or the government, from the standpoint of the federal government, could respond, his popularity would go through the moon. I don't think that's a downside. Even if he is taken out of his position, I don't think it's ultimately a downside for him politically.
I agree. That's why he should have just done it instead of doing this. This is him being a showman. This isn't him actually going out, doing what he believes in, knowing full good and well what's going to happen. This is him out there thumping his chest and, look at me. I'm the brave, progressive mayor of New York City, and I'm going to arrest Netanyahu. Bitch, no, you're not. If you're going to, you've just done it, and you'd have trumped Trump before you knew it had happened.
But bitch, no, you're not. We'll see. I hope he doesn't. I hope he surprises both of us. I hope he surprises us.
Ambushes only work.
Off.
JT, ambushes only work if they're ambushes. If you telegraph it, it's not an ambush. You get spanked. He should have just nailed his ass, kept it quiet, and John D. Rockefeller, I'm right there with you. He says, if Mamdani actually had Netanyahu arrested, I, as an ardent conservative, would donate to his reelection campaign, and I second that.
Yeah.
Mamdani's all this. He's all mouth and no action.
Do you think Netanyahu's made plans for this just in case? Or the Trump administration just in case? Like thinking to themselves, Mamdani might try to do this shit, even if it's just political grandstanding.
No, because they know he's a pussy.
I don't know. I think he, maybe. I agree.
I think you got to make plans for this.
You got it.
You don't think it's going to happen.
You have to prepare.
Maybe. But you know what? I'm telling you, ambushes work because they're a surprise.
Yeah, no.
Agreed.
Ambush would have been the way to go. I 100%
yeah,
totally agree. Frazmataz, question for me. Infamous countercultural writer Jim Goad just died. Apparently, he influenced all hipsters, including Chuck Palahniuk, etc. Know much about him? Oh yeah, I wouldn't say he was a huge influence, but I was definitely found him very interesting. He wrote a zine called Answer Me. He was kind of like he preceded sort of this whole idea of trash redneck white culture being an underclass in America that, especially culturally, that was always looked down upon and ought not to be. Kind of like hillbilly Elegy if it wasn't full of shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like a JD Vance.
Yeah. All right. So let's see. Mamdani Tuto says Mamdani isn't grandstanding about it. He was just asked a question in an interview.
Right. Yeah, I didn't think he was grandstanding. I think I was saying grandstand. I don't think I used the term grandstanding in regards to using it. I think I've repeated the term. But I think from my point of view, yeah, he was asked the question. I guess my thing is he going to do it? It's one thing to say it. It's another thing to try it.
Mm-hmm. By the way, a couple minutes left. We got to talk about Iran. So the Washington Post is reporting that the CIA and other intel agencies filed a report with the White House. Their assessment, not surprising. I think this is Jamarl, I was going to ask you if you contributed to this assessment, said that Iran's government is unlikely to be feeling any significant impact or to change or soften its negotiating position because of U.S. military strikes. That basically it's like, you can keep doing this. It's not going to change a goddamn thing.
Yeah, there's nowhere else to go. I mean, it's existential. I mean, Iran knows this is not about nukes. This is about destroying the state. There is nowhere else to go in regards to, there's no backing up. There's no new ground to go to. And they know, A, the war is unpopular in the U.S. B, oil prices are going through the roof, which is going to impact the U.S. and the way that people perceive the war. And people hate the war already. So, yeah, they're not changing. There's nowhere for them to go to. There's just not.
Yeah, and nothing will. Yeah, I mean, we'll continue to follow the story, but it's always, and I said this, about Russia and Ukraine, it's always dangerous insofar as a war is likely to continue when both sides think that they have the advantage. Iran thinks it has the advantage because they do. I'm not sure why the United States feels that it has the advantage other than simply we're the United States and therefore we have the advantage.
I don't think the U.S. thinks it has the advantage. Well, to be fair, I don't know what's in their minds. But they obviously started this off trying to destroy the state, and now they're moved back to trying to take the Strait of Hormuz. So it's like, okay, dude, you're in the negatives. You are fighting over something that wasn't even in contest before, and you're losing the fight to control that thing.
Right.
So it's like they have to know that they're in the rears of this.
Yeah, and they fucked the Gulf states. Iran fucked the Gulf states.
Well, the U.S. fucked the Gulf states because the U.S. started this war and didn't even, from my understanding, consult the fact that they were starting this war. But I could be wrong on that. I mean, who knows what was going on behind the scenes in regards to the conversation.
We will find out eventually. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, the Gulf states are fucked. I mean, they've been getting bombed relentlessly for the last God knows how long. And if the U.S. escalates, Iran has pointed out that they can also escalate. So Iran requires, I think, less than 10% of the population uses desalinated water. Over 90% of the Gulf states use it. When Iran hit that main or hit the desalination plant, you can imagine, and there was a collective shit fit in many of these Gulf states, knowing full well that if the U.S. escalates, they're going to take it.
Right. Last comment, and this will be the end of today's episode. Jolly Lollipop, thanks for the $5. I hereby pledge to give you guys a $5 super chat if you confer with Mamdani and talk the Ugandan into cuffing and booking Bibi. Frankly, that should be worth at least $10, in my opinion. Yes. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, following, and sharing, etc. JT, see you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Have a great day. Everyone else, please stay tuned for TMI coming up right now. Take care and talk to you later. Bye.
Yes.